You are now one of us. Hello everyone and welcome to BunkaMania here on Bunkazilla UK. I am Jeremy Graves and I am back once again along with my cohort in crime, my partner in crime, my long-term tag team partner, and I suppose we could technically both be part of a long-standing tag team, but there are so many out there, it would be far too much of a process to try and actually name one. So I will simply make him known as the Dekker Dane himself. Mr. Iain Boulton, good sir, how the devil are you doing today on this fine Wednesday, the 9th of March evening?
I am doing delightfully well. Hello there. I think people, for those benefit of watching the video version, have noticed as well, I am no longer long-haired. I have trimmed it, I am smarter, I'm looking more clean, I'm ready to have a heel turn now. It's basically when you clean up your act and then you go evil.
You see, you could have at least done the tried and true pro wrestling thing and waited for a hair versus hair match. You know, we could have done a quiz, we could have done a GM mode on 2K or something, you know.
Well, I would have probably held out a little bit, but there is the current notion of me trying to find employment at the moment. So I have to look presentable for prospective employers. But enough about me. Well,
you know what then? Let's make it about everyone watching and or listening today. First of all, if you are joining us here live on Twitch as we record this fine Wednesday evening, thank you very much for tuning in. If you feel so inclined, why not give us a follow so you can keep track of upcoming Bunkazilla programming. And of course, we'll be keeping an eye on the Twitch chat tonight as we discuss a variety of topics. If you'd like to have your say, make sure you post them in the comments there. And if you feel so inclined, you can subscribe to Bunkazilla here on Twitch as well. Now, for all of you audio listeners out there, because we know you're out there and we love you for all the places that you check out this show, be it on the likes of Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon, SoundCloud, anywhere and everywhere you like to get this show from, be it an RS feed or somewhere else. Thank you very much for checking us out. If you'd like to, why not leave a little review or give a thumbs up, whichever your platform desires, where you can make your voice known about the show. We would really appreciate it. And of course, make sure you keep an eye out if you want more video-related content on the Bunkazilla UK YouTube channel, because you'll be able to find some BunkaMania-related videos on there every so often too. So you can either indulge for the first time or re-indulge in certain topics that have been discussed. Good sir, a heck of a lot has happened in the world of pro wrestling since we last did a broadcast.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lots of things have happened. I think the main port of call, I think, as the stream and as the episode is quite rightly titled about, is of course AEW Revolution, which was headlined by the Battle of the Atoms, Hangman Adam Page versus Adam Cole, and we'll get to that a little bit later on. But yes, I think out of everything going on in the world of wrestling, I think this is the place to start.
Completely agree. And I should say as well, everyone, AEW Revolution is our primary topic for this show today. Time depending, we might get to a few other bits and bobs, but we are focusing primarily on AEW Revolution, which took place this past weekend. I was going to say in America, that's patently obvious, but in Orlando, you know, because that's how it works.
It was a wrestling event. That happened.
Indeed. I watched it through Fight TV because that's how you could watch it internationally. I know in America it was available on regular pay-per-view. There was also cinema screenings of this. I want a cinema screening of an AEW pay-per-view.
I think they have been doing cinema screenings for a while in America. I think logistically for UK audiences, it's a little bit tricky because most of their shows start at 1 a.m. So unless the cinema was opened on a Saturday night, so if it was a Saturday pay-per-view, then maybe some cinemas could get away with it. It's very rare for a cinema on a Sunday. And this is from the years of cinema working that I have under my belt. Yeah. It's very rare for a cinema to be open late on a Sunday. I think what's the latest it's been open to? Well, if you have like a midnight showing off a 3-hour film like Peter Jackson's King Kong, you're there till 4 a.m. Joy.
Or even the Batman, you know.
or the Batman. Rob Bat.
Rob Batman.
Side tangent. Weekly Planet is a podcast I listen to. They do movies, games, and TV, all this stuff. And ever since Patterson got announced as Batman, they've always referred to him as Rob Bat. And there's also fan art of him dressed up as the Batman with a baseball bat. He even has a baseball bat in the film. But that's obviously won't go too much. This is a wrestling podcast, of course, but it's like just have to do a side note. It's a great podcast. If you can listen to it, please do.
I mean, think of it this way, mate, because there have been comic characters portrayed in the world of wrestling. Not
Indeed.
necessarily on this show, but to link it back to AEW, Thunder Rosa was recently X2, or, Laura Kinney, or X, as it were. So there's a way to somehow very tediously link it back to that. There was also the Kill Bill cosplay as well at some point.
Oh, there was, I think on Revolution, I think it was more video game outfits, because two wrestlers appeared in very eye-catching wrestling, not wrestling attires, video game related wrestling attires.
Let's just call it like it is. Jade was freaking fantastic as Jade from Mortal Kombat.
And don't forget little Spartan warrior Adam Cole.
Yeah.
Coming out with his Spartan armor.
Coming out with his freaking, Spartan armor. If he could have done, he would have come out probably with a rifle and a plasma grenade. Because he freaking loves his Halo.
I think if they were able to do a good brand sponsorship with Microsoft, I would not be surprised if Adam Cole came out dressed full Spartan armor, to be honest. I think it's a game he plays a lot on his Twitch channel at the moment. So
he's a Halo nutcase. Like I love Halo as well, but I can never love it as much as that. I don't have the time.
I've been playing Infinite at the moment, and the Infinite campaign's quite good. I've enjoyed the open worldness a little bit of it. But it's like, yeah, I've kind of been in and out of playing Halo, but Infinite seems to be going all right at the moment. So
I'm going to be delving into that at some point. But we can talk about Halo a lot, but we've got a lot to get into. So AEW Revolution, first of all, Ian, I guess, first of all, your experience of watching this as a whole, did you watch the buy-in as well? What did you think overall?
I did not watch the buy-in, mostly because of time I had to watch the show ahead of the stream here.
It's a big commitment.
It's a big commitment because, again, it's 5 hours. And again, it's like, obviously AEW don't do many pay-per-views here. They do at least 5. Revolution, Double or Nothing, All Out, Full Gear. Oh, 4. Just go,
cool. One per quarter plus their special dynamites, as it were.
Yeah, plus their specials. So a 4-hour pay-per-view is fine if it's once every quarter. I think sometimes, the big thing, I think we'll talk about a little bit as we go through the match card, is sometimes the pacing of the card can affect how certain matches are received a little bit. I think that's very true in one of the title matches that we'll be talking about. But in general, I think this is still a very solid AEW pay-per-view. And and it's like, I don't want to, I'm trying not to make it sound very negative or try to be kind of like of the downscale, because I enjoyed the pay-per-view. But I think because AEW has such a high bar of quality right now, and they are when their pay-per-views soar. But sometimes it's like, again, I think it's coming to the realization that not every pay-per-view can hit those heights. There are some standout matches in this pay-per-view that make it worth watching. But it's like, I think overall, I think it's a very good pay-per-view. It's a strong pay-per-view from AEW. And it's really helped by some of the marquee matches, especially MJF Punk, Face of the Revolution, and main event as well, which is really, really good.
You've echoed some thoughts I have as well. To put it out there, this show was great, but I'd be lying being someone who also watched the buy-in as well, which I purposely, when I watched this, did not look at the time for how long this show was. Because I think I watched it during the day Monday, because I would just schedule worked out that way. Yeah. And I purposely didn't watch the time, but I set aside 4 hours to watch it, thinking that'll cover it. And when it kind of got to the 4-hour mark, and I'm just thinking, man, I'm feeling tired. I'm enjoying this, but Jeremy's giant brain can only cope with so much wrestling at any one time.
I mean, I'll be honest a little bit. There were some matches that I kind of had to sometimes just check how long we had left on the show to go, okay, that's how long we're going for on this match and so forth. Yeah. And that's not a knock against the performers. That's not a knock against matches. 4 hours is a big ask. And I think, and we've had this before with WWE shows going 4, 5, sometimes 6 stupid hours long. And it's kind of like, it's a lot to ask your audience. And that's
in terms of value for money, though, it's great value.
Oh, absolutely. It's like I said, this is a good pay-per-view. It's like I am happy that I've spent 4 hours watching the pay-per-view. It's not like there has been some bad matches on this card, and I've turned around and gone, I really do not want to sit through 4 hours of bad wrestling. Quite the opposite. There's actually good wrestling. There's amazing wrestling on this card. It's just, I think when you're used to kind of like short and sweet shows, or kind of like because WWE have been kind of going back to like that 3-hour format for some of their shows, apart from the big ones, you kind of get used to that, like, okay, a wrestling show goes up to 3 hours and then that's it. And we move on. But it's just, it's commitment. It's commitment, it's drive, it's desire, it's all those things.
Well, this is the thing as well, and we will actually get onto the show in a second, folks, but it's the thing of, generally, excluding other Japanese wrestling or maybe the odd indie thing that I watch, generally when it comes to AEW or WWE, I'm just watching AEW. I've said this before. I will watch Dynamite. I'll watch Rampage. That's a good 3 hours. That's how much time I can, quite frankly, invest into this, and I enjoy it. Yeah. And it's not to say I didn't enjoy this pay-per-view. I really enjoyed it, but there was a point where I was just tired. And I think that was echoed with the crowd as well. Not because of the show being bad, because quite frankly of how stacked of a lineup it was. And part of that lineup actually began with the buy-in. And just to kind of sum it up as an all-encompassing thing, the 3 matches of Layla Hirsch beating Chris Statlander, Hook beating QT, and the House of Black defeating Death Triangle plus Eric Redbeard. It was a really strong buy-in, really strong. That 6-man tag, it is go out of your way to watch it in particular. If you can only watch one of the 3, in the nicest way to put it, the Hook match is exactly what you think it's going to be. It's good fun, but that's literally what it is. Layla Hirsch and Statlander, also really good. But if you can only watch one match from that buy-in, watch the 6-man tag. It's really, really good fun stuff. And also the House of Black are so damn good as a trio. We need trio belts in AEW. We freaking do. I think Tony Khan has actually said publicly something to the effect of probably not if it's going to happen, it's more a when. Yeah. He didn't use those exact words, but he has acknowledged, probably should. So the buy-in was definitely worth a watch. It wasn't just like a repeat of the Countdown show. They had the segments involved to hype up matches, but the actual matches themselves are definitely worth checking out. This led us on to the opening contest. This being, now, the way the show begins, it kind of just starts. Which, when there's no like intro hype video or even like and now, insert product name here, presents AEW Revolution. When you don't get that and you're immediately just into, hey everyone, welcome to Revolution. And then you freaking hear Jericho's music, you immediately go, oh man, this show is coming in hot, as it were. And so we got Jericho against Eddie Kingston, which quite literally starts with Jericho trying to attack Kingston, missing, and Kingston just suplexing Jericho right on top of his head.
Yeah, I mean, Kingston just comes straight out, down the ramp, jumper hoodie off, just go, right, we're going to fight now. Gotta go fight into it. This was a fun, fast, and pretty fight. It's more fighty than more technical thing. That's a weird way of saying it. It's a more fight.
I get what you mean, though. And for me, this was a match of the night contender. This was so damn good. The emotion involved. Eddie Kingston has proven once again why he is so damn good. Ultimately, it coming down to Kingston getting the big win.
Yes.
And in a sort of interesting thing, which I think the reference may have been lost on quite a few people, but this was actually a tribute the way he won to one of his favorite wrestlers from All Japan in the 90s, that being Toshiaki Kawada. Because he's talked about before about his love of Japanese wrestling and whatnot. And the finishing hold that he used, which is called the Stretch Plum, which in itself is a weird name, but that's what it is. He won with that, which in a way felt a bit anticlimactic, in my opinion, because I think having the actual 3 count might have been just a bit more visually appealing. But that said, though, he made Jericho tap out, and that means something.
Yeah, I think for considering we have the post-match angle of Kingston going for the handshake and Jericho relenting and going back up the ramp, I think it's more about the ego thing. So I think having Jericho tap out is more ego bruising than him just taking a pinfall, to be honest. So I can see why they went with that. And as Rum in our chat has said, it's a beautiful brawl. Indeed.
That is a wonderful way to sum it up.
It is a beautiful brawl. It's a beautiful brawl. And yeah, it's like I think it was pretty much absolute signpost win for Kingston because they talked about he needed the big win. So it's like he's on the up and up as one of AEW's big stars. Give him a big win against Jericho, former champion. Off we go. And that's sort of I think that it's clear that the booking team is behind Kingston, and we are just slowly starting to build that train up quite nicely. But no, this match did what it needed to do.
And if there's one thing that this did do, it set the tone for the evening. Like when you come out of the gate fast and furious with a match like this, and then you have the freaking 3-way tag team title match with the Young Bucks, Red Dragon, and Jurassic Express. This was such good fun. The general story of the match was the Bucks and Red Dragon clearly having a plan to work with each other. The plan inevitably falling apart a little bit. And then ultimately Jurassic Express able to retain the titles. There were some insane moves in this match. The one in particular that stands out is, I think it was Luchasaurus. It was either Luchasaurus being in a submission or him holding a member of Red Dragon in a way where Jungle Boy suddenly did like, I think it was a 450 or a shooting star press onto him. It was freaking nuts. But this was really, really good. And you could argue, how do you follow Jericho and Kingston? This is how you follow Jericho and Kingston. It was so good. And the fact that Jurassic Express won, absolutely fine with it. I'm actually happy it ended that way because we're going to, at some point, properly get Young Bucks and Red Dragon, and it's going to be mental.
I think from a story, again, it's like a lot of these matches work on the card from a storytelling aspect. So we've had best friends of Adam Cole, Young Bucks, and best friends of Adam Cole, Red Dragon, clearly kind of caught up in the Adam Cole shenanigans situation. So obviously you're building up tension with the breakdown of the communication plans there. So I thought generally Jurassic Express were going to lose the belts that night or at Revolution, and basically it will just turn the attention to that sort of storyline between the Bucks and Red Dragon. But clearly that's not been the case here. Clearly there's been a change, or not change, or clearly that's not been the plan at the moment, and eventually a change is probably down the line. I would not be surprised if one of those two teams has it by. I do apologize for our video listeners. I keep playing with my hair at the moment. I'm not used to the short hair.
Speaking as a man with long hair, Ian, I suggest up behind the headphones, as it were.
It's not long hair. It's a side.
It's long enough. But
there.
Do you know what? Here is the most weirdest tangent to give you now, which I'm going to bring this back on track. To go from men with long hair, including Jurassic Express, like Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus, I feel the need to point out something else that happened on the buy-in, which I'm not sure if you're aware of. But there was a moment where Tony Schiavone was in the ring, and he said, "We've got a very special guest." Kenny Omega's music hits.
Okay.
And out walks Don Callis. Now, it was a great moment because there was that part of like thinking, wait, is Omega at the show? Like, what does this mean? And of course not. And it effectively was Don Callis kind of backhand complimenting Adam Cole for keeping the Elite going and saying he'll make a great transitional champion when he wins the belt. So they're kind of now adding in Don Callis back into the mix now in like the whole Elite rivalry thing, which inevitably it's got to lead to a massive just Elite versus like Paragon, Undisputed Era, whatever.
It's like it's the Undisputed Era, but it's not the Undisputed Era. But it is the Undisputed Era, but it's not really. We don't say those words.
The undeniable Paragon.
Yes, exactly that. No, I think we've talked about this before on the show. Sorry. We've talked about this on the show before, and I think we are getting Elite versus whatever the new stable name of Cole or Riley and Fish is going to be over the summer, and it's going to be amazing, especially if you're bringing back all the big guns. If you're bringing back in good old Don Callis, and then you've got Kenny coming back at some point. I think the interesting thing is who's going to be the face and who's going to be the heel in the dynamic here, because I kind of thought you would probably put Red Dragon and Cole as a heel.
Agreed.
Because
I think
they work well
point,
like that.
When Omega comes back, I don't think there's any way he's getting booed.
No.
Because of everything that he did at being champion. If anything, it wouldn't surprise me if we end up getting a bit of dissension between Omega and Callis, because maybe Callis wants Omega to do things a certain way.
Mm.
And then he doesn't, and he ends up siding with Red Dragon, maybe. That might be an interesting dynamic.
Oh, God. Don Callis with Red Dragon and Adam Cole. That would be insane. That would be amazing.
I want to see it, I'll be honest.
But will Don Callis be able to rock out like Kyle O'Reilly can with a title belt? Because that is the mark of a man being in part of that faction and stable.
Exactly. Hey, I just thought of a really crap name for the Cole and Red Dragon stable. What about Boom Dragons?
Oh, it's all about the dragon, or Boom.
All about the dragon.
It's all about the dragon, Adam Cole, baby. Oh no,
the undeniable dragon-based paragon. Boom.
Yes, there we go. Solved it. We've solved the naming convention issues here. Brilliant.
But no, go on. Sorry.
But yeah, just basically the tag match was great fun. Really great fun. Like I said, I was surprised at the result because I generally thought Jurassic Express was leading the belt, but I think the change will probably happen either at or before Double or Nothing, and then that feud begins.
Agreed. So Jurassic Express, of course, are usually accompanied by their mentor, Christian, who was not involved with them at ringside because he was getting ready for the next match on the card. See what I did there, everyone? Because he was involved in the Face of the Revolution ladder match. Cut to the chase, Wardlow was the winner. We got some big hulking slabs of meat-based muscle just pounding each other, as it were.
It's meat hitting meat. That's
there you go. It was a very, very fun and creative ladder match. There was some. There weren't too many moments when you thought, "Oh, that sucks." I think the main one being when Keith Lee tossed out Orange Cassidy, and he basically up to the outside of the ring, and he somehow managed to overshoot the people outside the ring and just came crashing down on his shoulder.
Ooh. Ouch.
Which there is some word going around that apparently he had to get checked out of the hospital for his shoulder. So he might have got some kind of shoulder injury. Don't actually know. But out of everything that happened on the show, he was the only person that seemingly was banged up, as it were.
Okay. But
there were some very creative moments in this match, though.
Yeah, my favorite moment is I think it's Wardlow and Keith Lee have the ladder and they've lifted it up with Orange Cassidy on it, who just bowls over to the top and tries to grab the giant Sonic power ring. It's like the comedy moments were done perfectly well on that match, as well as the big power moments. I mean, basically, you want to show how strong Wardlow is, having shoulder barge Hobbs and Lee right off the stage into tables. Great, it's fine. And yeah, I mean, as Rum has said in the chat as well, it's like it's a proper fan service result because a lot of people have enjoyed watching Wardlow over the last couple of months. And it's like, yep, the rise or the march of Wardlow is finally starting to begin because it progressed further on the show.
Oh, didn't it just?
Yes.
And we will get to that in a few minutes. But
yeah.
We've got someone else who is rising up, as it were. Jade Cargill retained the TBS title against Ty Conti. And in a way, I felt sorry for them in the sense that they had to follow those 3 matches. Because there was almost at a point of like, well, how the heck do you follow that now? And they did the best that they could do. And Jade Cargill, like I said, looked awesome, had some awesome moments in the match as well. It was a fun, hard-hitting match, but obviously, in terms of the scale of the contest, it couldn't live up to what had come before it. But in its own right, it was a really solid match.
Yeah, I mean, you can say that. I was fine with the match. I thought it was just a fun little... I think it was one of the shorter matches on the card, but it's like it was a good sort of brawl, and it's obviously it's a David versus Goliath situation. Obviously, Goliath being Jade Cargill, and you got Ty Conti in the David position. But I was quite interested to see how Ty Conti and Anna Jay were kind of sort of acting in a heelish way during the match because
Anna Jay kind of got involved and whatnot.
Yeah, she got kind of involved, got attacked by Jade. obviously was going to probably happen. But yeah, it's just like the measure of it. Oh, we'll just try and hit her with a chair, which didn't put her down for the count as well. It's curious watching Jade. I mean, like I said, Jade is phenomenal to watch at the moment. It's just she's able to. I think she's perfectly balancing that sort of tweener role. She's being able to kind of balance sometimes being like a heel, but then when she's being a babyface badass in the ring, people just want to cheer. And I think the crowd reactions have been more favorable to her. They've been more supportive and more cheering for her than kind of booing her, because I think they're the charisma, the presence, and the improving ring ability. It's all there. It really is.
They appreciate what they're seeing in the ring.
Yeah. Yeah, so she's 29-0 now, I believe.
Indeed. I also need to give a shout out to Jade for one moment during the match, because I can't remember what it was, but there was a moment when Smart Mark Sterling got knocked down. Yeah. And I think Jade attacked Ty shortly after that, turned around, saw Smart Mark was on the floor, and just shouted, "Get up!" Just like proper good sass there. I really like that.
Yeah. I mean, it's been talked about on the other wrestling on shows and stuff, where it's like, how long does the streak go on for? I mean, I'm fine if it went on for like another year, to be honest. It's like,
maybe she'll try and beat Goldberg. What was it, 179? You know?
I mean,
sorry, quote unquote 179.
Yeah. I mean, that would be a very big feat, but it can't all be. I think eventually it will come to whether or not Jade also goes for the AEW Women's Championship at some point, while still being the TBS Championship. It'll be winner take all. Where
have we heard that before, everyone?
Stupendous, in the most stupendous way, but we'll get on to that later. But no, I enjoyed the match. I think out of the two women's matches on the card, I enjoyed this one more than Baker Thunder Rosa, and I will explain that a little bit later on when we get on to that match. But no, I think it was fine.
Our thoughts may align on that.
But no, it does. Again, it's like a lot of these matches do what they need to do from storytelling perspective, which is so nice and comforting to enjoy. So from a storytelling perspective, there is no need for Jade to lose his belt right now. Perfect. Carry on the streak. On we go.
So here is my theory for how Jade can build up the numbers. Because what WCW did with Goldberg, more specifically, if I remember correctly, at Road Wild 1998, you can probably find that now on the WWE Network if you look hard enough. There was a NWO Battle Royal, as it were, and Goldberg was in this. And what they did was they counted each elimination as a win. That's how you build up someone's numbers, right there.
That's just stupid.
Hey, mate, young kid Jeremy didn't care. He saw Goldberg do a jackhammer on the Giant at the time.
Oh, you know? Oh, fair enough. Fine.
There you go. So, up next is clearly one of the main talking points of the entire show. This being the dog collar match between one MJF and CM Punk. The entire thing begins with Punk's music hitting first. The crowd going mental. They get to shout, "Look in my eyes." And then the music immediately cuts to MJF. Of course, everyone starts booing because everyone knows that MJF is trolling him. But there was a part of my brain that thought, I wonder, is that a sign of something else that I'm maybe reading way too much into? And MJF gets in the ring. He's waiting there. And suddenly, some other music starts playing. A bit of an ominous theme. And then suddenly, a very recognizable drum beat, particularly if you are aware of CM Punk's career, say, Ring of Honor and earlier, begins. And it's his ROH entrance music, which was by the band AFI. And the song is, I think it's pronounced Mysteria Cantera. I can never pronounce it correctly. And Punk then comes dressed out in his old-style basketball shorts. He's wearing a jacket he used to wear in Ring of Honor. He's got his fist taped up like he did in Ring of Honor. He has gone totally back to ROH era style CM Punk. Proper going back to the days of when he had a dog collar match with Raven and the like of that, how he built himself up before he eventually went to WWE. And that, while based on some discourse I've seen online, which I'm trying desperately to not look at now because a lot of it is just really annoying, a lot of people didn't get the reference until Excalibur outright mentioned it. I don't think that mattered because it just indicated either way, this is a different CM Punk you're seeing right now.
Yeah.
This isn't the CM Punk best in the world you've been seeing since he arrived. This is a different level of Punk.
Yeah, I mean, it was alluded to in his sort of post-beating promo on the Go Home Dynamite. To be honest, it alluded to that something different was coming, and basically Maxwell Jacob Freeman had opened up a particularly nasty beast inside, and I kind of sense, because I'm not too familiar with Punk's Ring of Honor career, but it's like I kind of put two and two together when it was all going on before the Excalibur reference happened. And obviously, considering the previous week's announcements of Combine Ring of Honor, of course, it's a no-brainer. Of course, this would be happening.
It's almost the most timely thing in the world, isn't it?
Pretty much, to be honest. But no, this match, obviously, I think this is probably the centerpiece match of the entire pay-per-view, to be perfectly honest. I think most people were buying or ordering the pay-per-view simply for this match, because arguably it's been one of the best stories in wrestling in years. And it's like the different layers that they put onto it. I think after like the MJF almost babyface promo, which came
what I'm referring to myself as the MJF comic book villain origin storyline promo.
Yeah, or it's like, here is a fallible villain storyline, which again, you don't really see that much in wrestling, especially from a WWE standpoint. They don't actually give people. Sometimes when people go full heel, they don't actually have a legitimate reason to explain why they are the person they've become. And it's like that one promo from MJF is kind of like, it just really kind of took people sideways a little bit, because like,
yeah,
are we having a turn here? Are we having a double turn of some sorts or something? But obviously it's pure MJF trolling. Oh, it's technically true to a degree. It's technically true to a degree, but obviously it's like, he could be good, but no, he's gonna be a jerk because he can.
It blurred the lines so much. And you could argue, and I have seen some arguments saying that it actually blurred the lines or actually completely changed the entire dynamic. Because after MJF saying that, how the hell could you hate him? Because that's what drove him to where he is now. And it's an obvious comparison. You kind of draw it to a comparison like Thanos in a weird way.
Yeah.
In some weird way. But that's a debate for another day entirely. But the actual match itself, though, to say this was bloody is a bit of an understatement. This match is, if you're someone that doesn't like blood, you won't like this match. But in terms of what this match told from a story perspective, it was like the punishment that was coming to MJF. But Punk got his own punishment as well in this. There were some absolutely incredible moments in this. One in particular that stands out to me is when I think it was MJF like whipped Punk with the chain. And you could literally see the welts on the back of CM Punk when they did the overhead camera.
Oh, yeah.
And you could see the marks it was leaving. Yeah. And of course, arguably one of the ultimate ones before we get to Wardlow's involvement specifically, though he did lead to this, was the GTS and then MJF just falling onto like the thumbtacks and his reaction to the thumbtacks. It was
it's always pain is coming the moment someone brings thumbtacks into a match. But yeah, I think there was a moment MJF is actually kind of slightly crawling across on the knees. He goes, "Oh wait, no, I can't do this. It's not a good idea. It hurts." But
he's like,
it's the moment he lands on it, and he's just kind of like having like the sort of, it's like, what's happened to me? It's like the body shock shake moment before he kind of passes out from, oh no, I've done all this pain. Oh dear.
But the part that led to this though was there was a moment when MJF finally managed to down Punk for a few moments.
Yeah.
And he starts shouting for Wardlow to come out. And he does. And of course we get the inevitable, give me the ring kind of thing. And Wardlow kind of feels on his jacket. Oh, it's not there. Kind of feels on his trouser pockets. Oh, it's not there. Oh, I can't find it. And MJF said something to the degree, somewhat quoting him, he just kind of went, the fuck do you mean? You can't find it. And then he just goes, sorry. And then Punk is able to hit him. That might have been the GTS moment.
Yeah, that's when the GTS came in,
Yeah, and then there's a moment then when Wardlow and Punk have a moment where they lock eyes. Wardlow then goes, oh, wait a minute, I found it. Pulls it out of his pocket, puts it on the ring. They stare, and he just walks off. Freaking perfect. Perfect. But then the part which added it to me even more in a really weird way, I think I put this on my own personal Twitter, but there is a moment where Punk is looking, there's a camera angle, and he is looking with all his blood over his face, dead eyes just right at the ring. And all I could imagine was Gollum in Lord of the Rings going, my precious. It's all I could imagine when I saw him put the ring on his finger and stuff. And then he clocks MJF in the face and he gets the win.
Yeah.
I will be honest in saying, this match did not light my world on fire like it did for so many other people out there. Like, some people have literally called this undeniable classic, best of all time. This is 5 stars, no questions asked, for example. I don't feel that way because I didn't feel that way when watching it. I really enjoyed it. I didn't feel that otherworldly about it. But this is undeniably it is a classic match. Undeniable.
I mean, it is a great match in an amazing feud. The question is whether or not this feud needs to continue right now. I mean, it kind of felt like it was a blow-off match.
Agreed. Especially when Punk Up, when he was standing on the turnbuckle, did the motion around his hips that he wants a belt. So that makes me think he's probably going to be challenging for a title soon. Which one? That's to be determined.
I think he'd probably go for the World Championship. Or I can imagine the story putting in. I think the ideal storyline here probably is MJF is the one to ultimately take the belt off Page at some point, or CM Punk is the one to take off Page, and the other one takes the belt off them at some point, and that's when you have the definitive winner of the feud, because they've each have one victory over each other now. So there's a rubber match coming, but sensibly, we're going to wait a little bit. So I can imagine this being like a match for at All Out, or probably at Full Gear, or something like that. But I can imagine AEW keeping them apart for a little bit now until it gets there. Okay, now we can put the world title into the mix, because they know from the previous responses to this feud and to the storyline, it's money, it's connecting with audiences, it's capturing their attentions, it's delivering on all bases. So I would be amazed if AEW haven't thought about a longer term plan of this and bringing in the world title, considering Punk has motioned for the belt at the end of the match.
Yeah. Agreed. And then from there, the next match was for the AEW Women's World Championship. This being Britt Baker retaining against Thunder Rosa in a match, I will use the word littered with interference. And
that's an understatement. Littered.
Yeah, fair. So this is the thing. It was an all right match, but it's at the point now where literally where does this go? The only next logical step I can think of is Jamie Hayter and Britt Baker. But their whole dissension thing has not been a thing for frickin' ages at this point. So I don't know where it goes from here.
I think it's been very badly signposted. But I think on tonight's Dynamite, at time of recording, Rosa has a match against Layla Hirsch. The winner becomes the number 1 contender for the AEW World title again. That match takes place on St. Patrick's Day Smash in Thunder Rosa's hometown.
Okay.
So it feels like Thunder Rosa is taking that belt probably there. Which then raises the question, what was the point of this match? I don't know. It's like
I hate to say it, but did this match need to be on the show?
It's like I really do not like coming back to really kind of grind my gears about this whole reign and title picture at the moment. But it's like the match. I mean, considering it came after the MJF CM Punk match, the crowd weren't that invested in it still. Obviously,
Yeah,
they still respond along with obviously with Britt Baker doing the DMD and stuff. And that's fine.
The position on the card did not help it. We'll put it that way.
No, it did not one bit. And again, it's the same thing. Reba and Jamie Hayter interfere again and again and again. It's like once or twice every so often, fine, it works in the storytelling. But when it's always been the crux of every key Baker defense, it's just boring. It's just stale. And I think it's a disservice to the talent that they have. I would have, it's like, if there was no interference, I'd been fine with a clear Baker or clean Baker victory, because then you kind of go, okay, because then in theory, their kind of feud from last year's St. Patrick's Day match is kind of like a one-on-one sort of thing. But no, it's a bit signposted that Rose is taking the belt. And if that title change does happen in a couple of weeks in Texas, I really hope they reset and just kind of build fresh feuds going off, because it's like, I've said it before on the show, as much as I really have enjoyed Britt Baker as a character, as a persona on AEW, the matches and the feuds that she's involved with have not really set my world on fire or engaged me as much as other feuds. I mean, the one little side character note I did appreciate on the commentary was Tony Schiavone was awfully quiet when Baker won by cheating means again. It's like, oh, she's cheated again. It's like, Tony's not saying anything. It's like, Tony.
Yeah. It's a little things like that. But I will take my opinion of this one step further. Now, if this is overstepping the mark, feel free to like lambast me, whatever it is. But I actually think at this point, Britt Baker being champion, the way she is being champion and retaining the belt, is actually doing more disservice to that championship than it is anything else now. Because there was a point where that AEW Women's Championship belt was one of the highest things in the company. And people were really up for every single title defense and looking forward to the next journey. Yeah. At this point, I would rather not see a title match for that belt than actually see it on the show. That is how much, I hate to say it, I don't care about the title, because that's how I currently feel about it.
And even funny enough, it's a brand new belt they debuted as well.
It's really nice looking belt.
It's a nice looking belt. It's a very low key. Oh, by the way, it's a new belt. It's like, well, why don't you make a big deal about it? Why don't you have like a nice pompous? They may have done. I may have not paid attention. Why it's like, I mean, it looks a lot. It looks prettier than the original belt does. It's like, oh, it's nice. It's shiny. It's gold. I like this. But no, I don't think you've overstepped marks in terms of your assessment of it. It's frustrating, because every time we've come, and it's like, and I've said it just now, I don't like doing this, but the fact of the matter is, it is a part of AEW that I do not like at the moment, and it's like you've got to be fair in sometimes the content's on offer. There's a lot AEW does right. This is not one of the things they are getting right now, and a new champion and a reset is probably the best right now.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see, assuming it goes in the path like you said, and Rosa gets the title match. It'll be interesting to see if anything happens when it comes to Reba, Rebel, whatever her name is, and Jamie Hayter. Like, will they make it a cage match, for example, so they can't get involved? Like, will they do another stipulation?
I can imagine it being a cage match. The cage match makes sense, because then you hold up the interference. And
also, it's a bloody big cage that AEW have as well.
This is true. It's a very big cage. I forget how big the cage was in All Out.
All I remember is that Phoenix jumped off of it, and it's like, no!
No, it's like, don't do that.
So, from that match, we then go to another big match of the night contender here. This being one Jon Moxley defeating Bryan Danielson in a tough as nails, headbutt each other, punch each other till you bleed. Are we going to tag with each other? We'll find out after we bleed together match.
Yeah.
This was... I'll let you start, because I've talked a lot. You go for it.
Yeah, this is a mix of obviously Danielson's technical prowess, but also Mox's sort of brawler instinct. So it's become it's a technical brawl. It's like in comparison to Jericho and Kingston at the start of the show, they're just brawling. This is kind of like when a brawler comes up against a technical wizard like Danielson. And it's like it was obviously hinted in the blooming promos. It's like before I tag you, we must bleed together. It's like there's gonna be blood here, isn't there?
Keyword bleed.
Bleed. The keyword bleed. Good storytelling, foreboding. But no, this was a fun little match. Again, it's like I'm amazed we haven't seen Mox versus Danielson even when WWE days. They haven't wrestled since 2013 against each other.
Right. Yeah,
which is insane. I mean, they've been involved. I think they were involved in like multi-man matches. Like I think they were both involved in the Intercontinental Championship at WrestleMania 31 in 2015.
Sure. I'll take your word for it. Sure.
Yeah. Dean Ambrose Mox goes through the ladder. And I think actually cuts his own head open on that one.
Oh, yeah, because Bryan won the title that year.
Bryan, and then backstage, he sort of hung out with people like Bret Hart and that going, yes, all that sort of stuff. Weird. But going back to this match, no, this match was awesome. It's kind of like it was exactly as you thought it was going to be.
Yeah, it was really good fun. A really nice clash of styles that lent themselves really well to each other. The finish ultimate. Oh, go on.
Oh, sorry. And I kind of like the fact that for most of the match, Danielson has Mox's number, pretty much. Yeah. Holds, submission holds left, right, and center, because Mox only wins by the skin of his teeth by a surprise. Oh, I've just counted this.
Yeah, he counted, I think it was a triangle submission that he then flipped over on and then got the 3 count. And Danielson is really not happy about it, just starts kind of shoving the ref about and whatnot. Yeah. This then leads to brawling continuing between the two, because I think they were both like, hey, I'm not done fighting yet. I can go more.
Fight.
Sure, let's fight more. Punch, 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 punch. And then in the melee of people just getting beaten up and whatnot, out randomly walks William frickin' Regal. He just walks out, he gets in the ring, separates them, and then he almost headbutts Moxley and gets a load of blood in his face as well. And it's a wonderful, wonderful visual. And then he just slaps the taste out of Moxley's mouth and then says some words. Danielson is then just laughing at this situation. He's like, Regal, I knew you had my back all the time. I knew you did. Then gets the taste slapped out of his mouth, something fierce. And Regal, I can't remember the exact words that he said, but you could hear it. He had headphones on the FITE TV feed. He effectively said something to the effect of, right, you two, you've had your flipping fight. Shake your hands. Let's sort this company out. Which, as soon as I heard that, I just thought,
are they going to be?
No.
If they're going to be a faction, it's going to be bloody amazing.
This storyline. Like, remember we were talking about how this is a wonderful storyline. The idea that they're going to become a team and they're going to take the young wrestlers and kind of mold them. Never would you have guessed. Oh, by the way, how about a sprinkling of William Regal on top of that as well? And you're
as like the manager, as like the ultimate mentor manager of the group. It's amazing.
So good.
I mean, it's like I mean, you could lean into a little bit that Danielson's also been training a couple of the AEW wrestlers. Case in point, Jade Cargill, because again, they could build their little staple of talent they know who could run the place in a few years' time, and it I don't want to use it like evolution, but it feels like this could be something special.
You could say, Ian, they will be a revolution.
Get out.
All right. So from that match, you then think, the heck is going to follow that? Is it the main event next? No, because it's a freaking Tornado Trios tag team match, which was Sting, Darby Allin, and Sammy Guevara defeating, hang on, let me get my people right, Matt Hardy, Andrade, and Isaiah Cassidy.
Yes.
This was mental. There were a lot of things going on.
Jeremy, that is the understatement of this match. A lot of things are going on. Sting jumped off a blooming balcony.
Sting jumped off a balcony. Sammy Guevara did a Spanish fly from the top of the entrance, from the top of the entrance staging. It's just like, Darby Allin, I'm sure, hurled himself at 1,000,000 miles an hour at someone. I'm sure he did.
Yeah.
There was so much. It was effectively 6-on-3 this match as well, and yet, Team Sting still won. This was just a ridiculous spectacle more than anything.
Well, you had the opening video. You had the opening video of like Darby Allin just crashing into a funeral procession, and the
car flying literally into a funeral.
It's like, Darby, why are you so crazy?
And then Sting setting everything on fire, with a flamethrower. Oh my word.
It's like, Darby, why are you so crazy?
And also, it's got to be said, and this match was following the ridiculously good 3-way TNT title match from Dynamite 2 nights earlier. If you've not seen that match, people, go out of your way to watch that 3-way from from Rampage, sorry. It's so good. But this match, though, it is just all sorts of crazy. It's really difficult to actually recap it because this is how crazy it was. But suffice to say, Ian, if you needed something to follow the previous match, they certainly picked a good one.
Yes. It was, I think the best way to describe it, I know a few people have described it, it's like a palate cleanser. You've had like a serious technical storytelling match. Now let's just have a batshit crazy match. Let's just give people some stupid stuff. You want to see Sting jump off a balcony and go through tables? You can see Sting jump off a balcony and go through tables. You want to see Darby Allin do a coffin drop across the ring? You can see Darby Allin do a coffin drop across the ring.
No, correction. If you want to see Darby Allin do a coffin drop 3/4 of the way across the ring and land on Matt Hardy's hip somehow, then go for it.
I think at times I looked at the replay, it's like, I thought he didn't catch any of Matt Hardy. It was just like, coffin drop. He's missed him completely. And yet he still won.
I think the crown of his head touched Matt Hardy's hip. Yeah. Which, to be fair, I think Matt Hardy had moments earlier been put through a chair that exploded, quite literally.
Oh, fair enough.
So I can understand why, he may have been a bit worse for wear. Also interesting to note, whether this plays out on Dynamite, we'll see. Matt Hardy tweeted something after the match that same night of something like, "I'm really sorry I let everyone down. And I know my behavior has been quite erratic. I will make it up to everyone." So is that the Jeffrey Nero tease? We will find out.
I mean, his non-compete is over today. So yeah, that's probably the, it's signposted he's going to AEW. Of course he's going to AEW.
He said it himself in an interview and then had to backtrack it.
Yes, before people say, "Oi, no, contract tampering," that sort of stuff. Anyway, we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But yeah, this was the Barmy Darby match. There we go.
And we go
for the show.
And we go for a Barmy Darby to the Battle of the Adam.
Battle of the Adams. Adam of the cowboy variety and Adam of the baby.
The cowboy shit versus the boom.
The crowd certainly loved this in terms of chanting Adam. It's like, let's go Adam. Adam sucks.
You can bet there were a number of people who were going to that show that thought, "I need to say this chant. I need to do it." And they got all of them out of the way in like the first 10, 15 minutes. And then eventually you started getting the proper dueling chant. And that's when you knew everyone was proper into the match.
Yeah.
This was a good match. Admittedly, at this point, I was quite fatigued in watching the show. That's not taken away from the match because it was a really good match. There was some freaking fantastic storytelling in this. My favorite part of it being, I want to say it was Adam Cole hit a move. It may have been when he super kicked Adam Page as he did the moonsault off the top rope and kicked him in the face. Then he was going to go for the boom and he hit it, but Page kicked out. And on commentary, Excalibur pointed out, Adam Cole rushed it. He didn't move down the knee pad like he normally does to get the extra oomph. And it was like, chef's kiss. Mwah, storytelling right there. And then I think a few moments later, Page hit the boom with his knee pad down and hit Cole with it. And it's like, storytelling. Brilliant. Yeah. And then ultimately, Red Dragon come down and try and get involved. And the Dark Order then come down. Randomly, Adam Page shoved Alex Reynolds into the path of Red Dragon. Which, on Being the Elite, they played that up a little bit backstage. Because Alex Reynolds was just really hacked off with Page and kind of stormed out of the room when he came in to celebrate. And Page was annoyed with himself about it as well. So something's going on there, clearly. But ultimately, Red Dragon got involved. They got carted away by Dark Order, leading to Page to be able to get the win. The interesting part, which was then followed up on BTE, is the Young Bucks were nowhere to be seen. And on Being the Elite, Adam Cole did say to the Bucks when they were kind of going, hey, you didn't win, we didn't either. Sucks, let's go get a coffee or something. And he basically went, I just wish you guys would have been there to support me. Like, and they went, well, we were watching you backstage. In typical Young Bucks fashion.
Not supporting the baby.
Exactly. So they're still slowly kind of roasting that pancake. There's my really bad analogy for the day, because you don't roast pancakes, but there you go.
If you're roasting a pancake, Jamie, I worry about how you're making food in your kitchen.
Mate, a lot of people worry about that with me.
Fair enough. I think the interesting thing of this, how this match ends, is obviously Page goes a little bit dark in a way, because he wraps his belt around Cole's wrist on the ropes to deliver a few attack moves, and he just kind of goes to Harry. I think, as he described after the match, a bit of a dark place to win the match, but he's okay now.
The reason he did that, though, was actually recompense what happened at the end of Dynamite, though, when he was duct taped to the rope. So I saw that as being logical in that sense. But
it's just kind of like it's a babyface going to a somewhat unexpected level to retain a belt. I mean, it's kind of like, because usually you expect a babyface to kind of just squeaky clean find a way to win somehow. But this is kind of like, oh, we're going a little bit conflicted now, because they all start off with the shoving of Alex Reynolds and all that sort of stuff. Because I sort of thought, wait a minute, why is he pushing the Dark Order away? Because I was kind of thinking, oh, is he going to be so sort of irate about it that Cole somehow wins the belt? Because again, it's like I kind of thought they could do a switch here, because again, as we've been saying for this entire play-by-play, the wheels are in motion for Elite versus Red Dragon and Cole. It's just, this is an extra layer to it. So, yes.
You could say Adam Page did some proper cowboy shit in that match.
Not actual shit. He did not actually shit in the match. We must stress this now.
We don't know that for sure. I'm just saying, But with that being said, that was the end of AEW Revolution. But there was one other thing to note from the show, and that was the official unveiling of Swerve Strickland now being a member of the AEW roster.
Probably would not be surprising if Tony Schiavone showed the contract to the camera.
I know, right? I noticed that as well.
It's like we've got someone to reveal to you, Swerve. And for the benefit of the audio listeners, I'm pretending I'm showing the contract with Swerve's name right at the camera.
There was part of me that thought, okay, we kind of knew this was coming. I'd love it if this was Swerve.
If it wasn't Swerve, it was someone else. Or Swerve came out, but then someone else stopped him and then signed the contract. I don't know. But no.
And a really cool reaction from the crowd as well when they started chanting, whose house, Swerve's house.
Yeah. But it's a good sign that he's going to have fun at AEW, because he was a great talent in NXT, black and gold. I think we'll never understand what the hell was going on with the Hit Row release at WWE. But
he referenced the fact that he saw him wrestle. He didn't outright say the company name, but he was referring to MLW when he said he saw him wrestle a few years back. And was commentating matches. So Schiavone legitimately was familiar with Swerve, so you could tell there was a proper relationship there.
Yeah. I think Swerve's a great addition to AEW. I think he is. I think one of the things I'm very wary about now when wrestlers have finished up at different companies, especially like WWE. Again, like we might have time to briefly talk about Cesaro departing WWE, but the immediate thing is everyone goes to AEW, and it's like, that's great and all, but I'm still a little bit anxious about how many new people they're bringing in, because their roster's getting bigger, and there's so much you can kind of do across the all shows. Obviously, now they've brought Ring of Honor. That might change a little bit. They might have their own unofficial brand split. Just saying.
We shall see. But AEW Revolution overall, though, good sir,
I'd say it's a solid pay-per-view. I think it's a good pay-per-view. Again, it's solid AEW. They don't do anything drastically wrong. Obviously, there are some bits that we've taken, not umbrage of, but we've taken a slight sort of,
we've highlighted.
We've highlighted, but overall, it doesn't detract that this is a very good show.
Big thumbs up.
Thumbs up. If I was rating out of 5, I'd say a good solid 4 to 4.5. Because I think some of the big key marquee matches are great. But yeah, it's like sometimes it's like when we compare it to, I think All Out was like an absolute spectacle. I mean, when we talked about All Out, it was like an all-out spectacle because it's like, yes, it was 6 hours, but most things hit and the pacing was right and you had the big things to take away, whereas Revolution just does a lot nicely from a story. It is a storytelling, propelling pay-per-view.
Oh, nice verbiage there.
Thank you.
I like that.
Thank you. Anyway,
so from the world of AEW, where would you like to go to next, sir? Seeing as we do still have a decent amount of time here, would you like to talk how WrestleMania is taking shape, or would you like to make a trip around the world somewhere?
Let's talk about the road to WrestleMania, shall we? Let me find the right card. There it is, the road to Mania. Lots of things happening on the road to Mania at the moment. The card is taking shape more and more as the days tick away to the most stupendous two-night event of the stupendous. Or as Vince McMahon said on the Pat McAfee show, I just thought it was a crazy word. to that degree, he said it was good. He was like, it's like stupendous. What does that mean? I don't know. Put it on a poster, and off we go.
Honestly, that actually explains a lot about WWE marketing and advertising.
Pretty much. But let's have a quick run through of the WrestleMania card as it stands right now. So
across the entire 2-night stupendous like extravaganza.
Yes. So we know main event of night 2 is going to be Brock versus Roman, title for title unification. No major developments there apart from Roman blindsiding Brock at Madison Square Garden, leaving him for bloody pulp. We know the main event of night 1 is going to be Ronda Rousey versus Charlotte for the SmackDown Women's Championship. We know Becky is taking on Bianca Belair for the Raw Women's Championship. Pretty much now confirmed, it's AJ Styles versus Edge. Might I add, a heel Edge.
I'm looking forward to this a lot.
He had a very interesting promo on Raw this week where he just stood in a purple light. And it's just kind of like, oh no, old man Edge has gone balmy.
I thought you were going to tell me he was sponsored by Twitch or something.
I know, it's like he has this great finishing line where he's just saying, AJ, I've climbed to the top of wrestling. I've climbed to the pinnacle of who I am as a performer, and the view is phenomenal. And then he goes from a smile to a complete dead stare into the camera of It's weird seeing Hill Edge after this long, but it's got like, I also kind of like it. It's a bit balmy. But then AJ Styles is being clearly repositioned his face, which is nice as well. I think that might be a sleeper match of the night candidate, wherever night it lands on. I think that is going to be stupendous to be. So we already have confirmed we have the Mysterios against Miz and Logan Paul. Paul,
I forgot he was on this.
Yeah, well, some of the new matches that have been kind of now confirmed. So Sami Zayn was the Intercontinental Championship. Last week he lost the Intercontinental Championship to Ricochet thanks to Johnny Knoxville.
Just win it.
Yeah. So he lost it in his first defense.
Good job.
Good job. But no, from a
multi-year deal, this is what happens. We know it every time.
Well, for a story, but he gets probably one of the more not eye-catching, but kind of like one of the more kind of matches a lot of people are kind of be going, oh, this is a bit weird, but a bit curious. And that's Johnny Knoxville versus Sami Zayn. So it's not for the IC title, which I thought it was going to be. So I'm a bit disappointed. I thought Johnny Knoxville was going to become a world champion and live out his dreams, but I'm disappointed. Knoxville versus Zayn. We also got Drew McIntyre versus Happy Corbin. Considering he's gone through Madcap Moss for several weeks now, it makes no sense. It makes sense, but hopefully this is not like get it over and done with, and then we can focus on other things for these two characters, because I don't think it's a holding pattern feud. So basically, there are probably things waiting for them. It's just we just need to get through this bit first.
So what you're saying is you'll be happy when Corbin has been utterly mullered by Drew.
You mean murdered? Yes.
Your word, not mine. I said mullered.
Murdered? Anyway,
Potato, potato.
Potato, potato, potato.
Mullah murdered.
Hardly a coincidence. So, the women's tag team belts, that's had a little bit of development this week. So it was originally going to be Carmella and Zelina Vega versus Naomi and Sasha Banks. Liv Morgan and Ripley beat the champions in a match on Raw, so that's now a triple threat tag. So,
that's a cool tag team, though. I like the idea of Liv and Ripley. That's really cool.
Yeah, so Carmella and Vega versus Naomi and Sasha versus Morgan and Ripley. Should be a fun match. I think that'll be fun. So, considering the reports of Pat McAfee having a match at WrestleMania, well, he is getting a match at WrestleMania. It's not against Vince McMahon. It is actually against Austin Theory. And I think that, again, could be a very sleeper surprise match. Considering if people are familiar about how McAfee kind of worked in NXT 1.0 Black and Gold NXT, where people just kind of wrote him off, and then he went off and did very silly, amazing things, and people were just going, what? Huh? And all this sort of stuff. Apparently, it was noted on the show when he was interviewing Vince McMahon that he actually has his own wrestling ring. So he's clearly doing training. He's clearly doing training. He clearly loves doing that sort of stuff. But I also think, and we were talking about this before we came on air today, it's also, I think the reason Pat's probably got this match as well is because I think there's some genuine love from Vince. And I think from some of the, from majority of the talent in the company that really like McAfee at the moment. I can understand why.
His enthusiasm, I can imagine it being very infectious.
Yeah. And probably the biggest news story for Mania this week is KO at the end of Raw. He lost his tag team championship opportunity with Seth Rollins against RK Bro and Alpha Academy. RK Bro are once again the tag team champions. So KO decided to let rep on the great state of Texas and called out Stone Cold Steve Austin, who for an appearance on the KO show at WrestleMania, which Stone Cold promptly answered the next day in a really fun video promo where he just kind of went, you must be the dumbest son of a bitch for calling me and talking about the great state of Texas in the way, or you just want a Stone Cold Steve Austin ass whooping. So it's like, it's probably not going to be a match, but it's mostly going to be, they're going to have a bit of a verbal exchange, and then Stone Cold is just going to kick the shit out of him.
There will be a confrontation.
And then many stunners and beers. Oh, I think. Because there was some brilliant kind of storytelling from KO when he was making the call out. Because when I was thinking I'd go find a proud Texan to bring to WrestleMania so I can really explain how much I hate Texas. And I thought for a second I could go get Shawn Michaels, but then I remembered I'm Canadian, so it won't be Shawn Michaels.
That's brilliant. A good line.
Brilliant. It's like, see, Kevin Owens hasn't forgotten the Montreal screw job.
Never forget.
And then I think it's like after I've stunned Stone Cold Steve Austin, I'm going to have a cool glass of milk. I think it'll be fun. I think it'll be a nice sort of pop the crowd moment, and I think everyone's won, to be perfectly honest, in this sort of thing. But other than that, we haven't had a US title match yet. Finn Balor took the belt from Damian Priest a couple of weeks ago. It looks like we're going to get Finn versus Damian again, which is fine. They're good together. They had some really good matches in NXT. And Ricochet's new Intercontinental Champion doesn't have a match yet, but I foresee that will probably be on the cards very, very soon, as well for the tag team belts for Raw and SmackDown. Neither one of them have been booked yet.
Maybe it'll be winner take all for the tag team championships.
I don't see it. It hasn't been properly kind of explored in storytelling. I mean, you still got Viking Raiders having a feud with the Usos, and RK Bro has just become tag team champions again. So,
I mean, I'm sure Randall Keith Orton and his partner, Senor Riddle, would like to have two belts each rather than just the one.
But then they'll have to find, I don't know where I was going with that, but no, I don't know. I don't foresee it.
Then they can Velcro both the titles together, hang them over their necks and pose. Job done.
Good work. Good work. But yeah, that's where we are with the WrestleMania card. There is also going to be an NXT event happening, I believe, on the 2nd of April, a matinee premium live event. Because one,
or as we call it in the UK, a watchable event.
It's like I can watch along at home. I'm actually to be at a convention that weekend, so it's kind of like,
come on, you can't be.
I am, which is frustrating. It's frustrating, but also means I may have to stay up, or I might be able to stay up late in the hotel with the Wi-Fi and watch on the WWE network.
For only $9.99.
For only $9.99, of course. But yeah, the only noticeable thing about Stand and Deliver at the moment is Dolph Ziggler's the NXT champion, so make of that as you will. It's weird, but also I kind of love the anarchy that's been caused by that.
Did the internet implode this morning?
Yes, it kind of did implode this morning about that. I mean, before we came today, I was reading Bleacher Report's headline of Dolph Ziggler is the NXT champion. This is not a typo. But yes, that's where we are with the WWE WrestleMania card at the moment. It's looking good. I think a lot of the matches in the paper, I think from a technical standpoint, are going to be fun. They're going to be great. They should live up to the expectations. I think sometimes from a storytelling perspective, it's not being particularly. There's no real eye catching. I think looking at that card, I think from a storyline perspective, I think Zayn and Knoxville has had a good story. Considering that story's been going on since end of December. It hasn't outstayed its welcome. I've kind of enjoyed the silliness of it all because it's a silly celebrity match. So they're trying to make the best of it as they can. But this is the thing with some of the celebrity people that you've got involved in matches nowadays is they do seem to take it a little bit more seriously, and they seem willing to kind of get involved and train a little bit. Because we saw Knoxville take those moves at the Royal Rumble. Might take some more at WrestleMania. Who knows? And the same with Bad Bunny. We saw him last year doing that great match. So Logan Paul's probably going to give it a go anyway. And we already know
performance by the weekend, as we seem to do every year at the moment.
Yeah. Every WrestleMania at the moment has a main theme by the weekend.
Do you want to know why? Because it's a weekend-long spectacular.
What was it this year? This year it's Sacrifice on the weekend. Last year was Save Your Tears, and the week before that was Blinding Lights. So it's a trifecta of Weekender songs. Brilliant.
There we go. Honestly, WrestleMania seems to be shaping up nicely. I'm looking forward. I'm definitely watching it either way. Like I'll resubscribe to the network like a day or two before just to make sure I'm in.
It's going to be a crazy week. It's going to be a crazy week for wrestling stuff on WWE. And then you also got to factor in there's also Dynamite going on as well.
Well, you know what? That's a very good segue. So Dynamite, obviously, as we're recording this today live on Twitch, takes place later tonight. And here currently is the latest preview for Dynamite, because there are one or two additions to add to this.
Yeah.
So we are going to have, obviously, the fallout from Revolution. There is going to be the TNT title match with Sammy Guevara defending against Scorpio Sky. This was built on the fact that... go on.
Because the winner of that is going to face Wardlow at St. Patrick's Day Smash.
Yeah, the week after, basically. Yeah. So, and the reason that this match came about is because Scorpio Sky effectively bartered with Tony Khan, or Dan Lambert did, to get Sky just a title match rather than earning one. And apparently as well, Paige Van Zandt signed an AEW contract because of that as well. So that would be cool to see her wrestle at some point.
Well, I think it was kind of hinted that the fact that she was joining AEW, mostly because of her very brief feud with Brandy Rhodes before Brandy and Cody left. So,
and it was also the interaction with Jericho as well a while back.
There was. I think at the time it was kind of up in the air, but it seemed more apparent when Van Sant was confrontational with Brandy Rhodes. It seemed very likely that she was joining AEW. So cool.
Elsewhere on the card for tonight's Dynamite, women's title eliminator match. Layla Hirsch versus Thunder Rosa, as we mentioned earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Jericho will address Eddie Kingston. And also literally just announced within the past 20 minutes or so, quote the AEW Twitter, Following the destruction of their Tornado Trios match this past weekend at Revolution, El Presidente Andrade El Idolo has called for an emergency meeting of the AHFO Board of Directors on Dynamite tonight.
Well, that means Hardy's going to get kicked out.
Quite possibly. And there's also like a video doing the rounds as well, seemingly of like taken after Revolution of like Isaiah Cassidy with just like a bunch of ice just strapped to his body after taking that fall from Sammy, and Hardy trying to console him. So stuff's going down. Completely unrelated, I also feel the need to point out AEW have also just announced a new Street Fighter collaboration t-shirt, and it's Ken and Hangman Page.
Ooh,
it looks pretty cool.
Nice.
So yeah, Dynamite tonight, it's going to be a good one. The post-pay-per-view Dynamites always have a good reason about them. I'm sure we'll probably hear from Punk and or MJF in some way.
Yeah.
And no doubt we'll probably start to see what the next direction for the world title is. I hope we get a really fun follow-up with the whole Danielson Moxley thing. I really hope. So we shall see how that progresses.
Mm-hmm.
But now, elsewhere in the wrestling world, because I think, Ian, we have a little bit of time left. So do you think it's time we take a trip?
Yes, it's time for wrestling around the world. Oh, what else is going on in the world of wrestling?
I mean, first of all, we sort of alluded to it earlier, and we'll touch on it briefly. Cesaro, a.k.a. Claudio Castagnoli, gone from WWE.
Yep. His contract quite expired a week and a bit ago, meaning he's now free to go and wrestle wherever he likes. Basically, the general consensus on the reports said he declined to sign a new contract because it wasn't on the same level as some of the other re-signees like Owen, Zayn, and AJ Styles. So basically, he saw WWE was not valuing him, so he decided it was best to move on. A lot of people were quite surprised by this because I think people thought he'd signed a longer contract at the end after Mania last year, because the moment he signed because the moment around that time he went straight to like a title feud with Reigns for a bit. So it's like, he's signed a contract then or something. But clearly this wasn't the case. And I think, it's sad to see Cesaro go, but to be honest, with a lot of people stepping away from WWE and other companies, there are plenty of opportunities out there. Maybe a bit of New Japan, maybe a little bit of Impact or something like that. I mean, again, we can see him easily fitting into AEW, but as I said earlier in the show, it's like I worry the amount of talent that just keeps going over to AEW, and it's like they'll be there for a moment, and then they'll be forgotten about for a little bit, and then they'll come back, and then it's kind of like, I've got this new toy. Okay, what does it do? It does this. Great. Oh, are you going to use it for the next weeks? No, I'm going to buy this next toy. I think I'm.
I hear you completely. Mate.
I guess it's one way of looking at how Tony Khan brings people into AEW, or it is a possible view of how it works, and it's like, it's like again, you look at some of the talents that have come in recently. I mean, again, Jay Lethal joined at Full Gear, had one or two matches, not really featuring much.
Well, see, this is the thing, and this is speaking as someone who doesn't watch Dark or Dark Elevation.
Yeah,
I think some of these signees are doing matches on those kind of shows. Not to make them sound like they're degrading shows or anything, but they're clearly having matches with people. We're probably just not seeing them because we're mainly watching the television, as it were. And that's, it's just because there's only so many hours in the day. If you've got time to watch every single bit of every single show, more props to you. I don't, quite frankly.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, I already can imagine him joining that new potential trio, making it a proper stable with the likes of Regal, Danielson, and Moxley. That could be interesting.
I think that'll be fun. It's like, I think ultimately it's what the rest. I think generally it's what the rest or wrestlers when they're considering their options to go to different companies, what they are looking for. They're looking for good. Are they just looking for an opportunity to kind of hang out with friends, wrestle friends, and work with friends, that sort of stuff? Are they looking for that next level of exposure? Are they looking to be finally treated like the big deal as they've seen, or so forth? Or again, are they looking for? Again, they're looking for a better paycheck, or
I'd love to see him reunite.
A more serving paycheck. Because again, it's like Cesaro doesn't necessarily have to go straight to AEW or other wrestling things. He's quite now a video gamer. I would not be surprised if he starts up a Twitch channel, to be honest.
Could we get a reunion of most of the party? From Up, Down, Down at some point?
I mean, technically, if G4 was a little bit smart about this,
they would sign him.
They would sign the party, the non-WWE members of the party to G4, and then commission programming with them and Austin Creed. Then the party get back together, and it's not even a WWE thing. I mean, that's wishful thinking.
Yeah, I totally agree. Selfishly, I would love to see him reform his tag team with Chris Hero, the former Cassius Ohno of NXT, because they were an amazing tag team called the Kings of Wrestling. Selfishly, I'd love to see that, but I'm not expecting that to happen. But like you say, it's a shame he's gone, because he really probably didn't get a fair crack of the whip there. Well, he didn't, quite frankly. But, he got his WrestleMania match with Rollins. It was freaking great. Had a great moment there. That's etched in time. That can't be taken away. And now he can basically do whatever he wants. It's a fair play to him.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll see him very, very soon.
Indeed. In terms of sticking with WWE, I guess, for a second there, well, we're going to be doing that either way, but a quick Hall of Fame note, because it has been announced that Vader is going to be going into the Hall of Fame. Vader was around WWE from, get my brain going, 96 through to early 2000s, I want to say, off the top of my head. If I remember correctly, because he's very well known for being in WCW before that and having wrestled in Japan as well, including a very famous match that he had in the Tokyo Dome with Stan Hansen, where his eyeball literally popped out of his socket. Not even joking. It's a grim video to watch on YouTube, but it's out there. But yeah, he's very well known for what he did in WCW and in WWF at the time. I think he debuted powerbombing Gorilla Monsoon, if I remember correctly, or something along those lines.
Yeah, just having a quick look at WWE years. His main tenure was between 96 and 98, with sporadic returns in 2005, 2012, and 2016.
Yeah, that sounds about right now you mentioned that. Yeah, because around 99 time, he would have gone back to Japan. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. Yeah. Yep. Good research there, Ian. Good research. I think it's cool Vader's going into the Hall of Fame. He's kind of always been one of those people who you wondered, will he? Just for various reasons. There is also a famous incident where I think WWF at the time were doing like a media tour in Kuwait. And there's a very famous interview clip where the interviewer says something like, "Is wrestling fake?" And then Vader effectively beats him up on camera.
Is that Vader and Undertaker having an interview?
Yeah, that one.
That might be one thing, yeah.
But it is cool Vader is going in, because he has done, from a wrestling around the world perspective, like what we're calling this little bit here, he has done so much. And like in Japan, like he's one of the biggest names in Japan at one point. So it's really, really cool they're going to induct him. And one would assume it would be his son inducting him, perhaps.
Hopefully. We'll see. They haven't announced who's inducting him. We do know from the Taker induction, we know Vince McMahon is going to be doing the inducting. He's described it as possibly he described it on the Pat McAfee thing as one of the hardest things he'll ever have to do.
Because he actually has to be a human as opposed to the business Vince McMahon.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating. It generally will be, because it's like every time they and they had it with the Last Ride documentary, every time they try to touch more on the emotional connection between Vince and Taker, Vince would immediately just close the door down. I was like, nope, I'm not talking about this any further. Get the camera out of my face. So you would hope to expect there will be something very deeply personal to share. And obviously not jaw-dropping to share, but I think his induction is generally going to be from the heart. And I think, considering the intensity of the business that Vince McMahon's in, as you said, that's going to be a difficult thing to do, to think about, or actually try to be human, I suppose.
Yeah,
which is a weird way to look at it. But
it's an incredibly weird thing to say, but I think it just sums it up very succinctly. You have to see the human Vince McMahon as opposed to WWE's Vince McMahon, as it were. But yeah, really cool to see Vader is going in. Final note for today, I think, good sir, and I'm going to defer to you on this for as long as you would like to talk about it, because you have been indulging in the, obviously today it's still upcoming technically, though for Digital Deluxe people it's already available now, I think, if memory serves.
Yes.
You've been playing some of the latest WWE 2K22 game. I had to look up what year it was because I genuinely don't remember.
It's this year, Jeremy.
Exactly, right?
Year.
The game was delayed by a year because of how, we'll say how mixed of a response the last one got. I think that's a very, very fair way of putting that.
You mean mixed? You mean the critical mauling and the memeability of the game?
Memeability is a great word. I like that. So yeah, I will defer to you now for a few minutes because I've not touched it. I mean, I saw you playing some of the game on your personal stream yesterday, as it were.
Yep.
So I got to see a little bit of an action, see the odd other bit here and there. But give us some thoughts on it.
Well, you've got to enjoy such wonderful physics as this. No. Oh! You see that chunk? You see that chunk that's flying to the audience? Look at the table flying physics.
Look at the table physics. I'll coin that phrase.
I on my stream yesterday, and I've been playing it a little bit today as well. I've generally been having fun with it. In terms of, I think this has been one of the most enjoyable entries I've enjoyed playing since probably the last proper one I brought. I brought 2019. I didn't buy 2020 after the bad reviews started hitting. It's like quickly cancel that pre-order, quick. But no, I've been quite happy with this game. It's the controls are slightly different if you're very familiar with WWE games, but it's definitely a marked improvement. Visually, it's an improvement as well. And even though we're laughing at those sort of silly, amazing physics of the piece of table flying into an audience, the fact is I haven't really experienced any major buggy things with it or silliness with it. It's like a table explodes. It explodes as you expect it to explode.
Didn't the game crash once on you yesterday during your stream, now I seem to recall?
I think it crashed because, of course, I don't know what match we were playing.
Didn't you win a match or lose a match, and then it just suddenly crashed, like it erased your win from history, I seem to recall?
I think I remember it was like I won or something like that. It's like, oh, but it's so the victory is so strong. It's like that power.
Oh, you did a triple threat ladder match and won the belt, didn't you? I think it was.
No. Big E won the belt. And Big E winning the belt was so powerful that it crashed. It crashed the PlayStation 4. But other than that, it's relatively been a bug-free experience.
It seemed very smooth from what I saw.
Yeah, it's like transitions are a lot smoother as well. So when you see some of the reversing and stuff like that, it feels more natural. It's not just a jarring sudden jump to just this generic action. It just all feels very fluid. Even from like using weapons and moving around, it feels more it feels more realistic, which is good. It's like there are still some of the little pitfalls of a WWE game. Obviously, half the roster are not technically with the company anymore, which is a bit awkward. But again, it's like, if this is how we're going to get the game, this is how we're going to get the game. Otherwise, we're never going to get the game if they keep having to stop and delay it every time a wrestler gets released. I
do like the way that WWE managed to finally figure out, how do we solve the problem of so many people wanting to be insert wrestler name like The Undertaker in one match, but you can only ever select him once? How do you figure that out? Put him in 4 times. Yeah.
Have Classic Taker, have Biker Taker, or even have Biker Taker from WrestleMania 36. Yes, that's the one. 36.
Have modern Biker Taker.
Have modern Biker Taker. Why not? But no Boneyard match, which is disappointing. But yeah, there's still
that'll be DLC. Just you wait.
Yeah, there's still some usual pitfalls. Some things are still not in date, or things are still a little bit out of date. So a lot of the venues are kind of like, this is the venue from 2020. It's like, okay, a lot of these were in the Thunderdome, but all right, fine. In that sort of sense. There's clearly going to be more DLC coming, because they should be at least bringing in like NXT 2.0 stuff as well eventually, because there are more wrestlers joining, like LA Knight. I think Carmelo Hayes is due to be DLC and all that stuff as well. So we'll see. But at the moment, initial impressions is it's an absolute improvement in what we saw in 2K20, to be honest. So I think basically if you're looking for a fun game to kind of pick up your friends. I mean, I've been watching a few other streams playing around with it. I watched Wrestle Talk after their Raw podcast review yesterday. They just had a fatal 4-way match, and they were all having a laugh with it as well. So it's like, if you can make a wrestling game that is easy to pick up and play, like it is with 2K22, I think it's fine. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting from an AEW perspective, what their game's going to be like. Is it going to be, because obviously they have Hughes on board and all that sort of stuff, so it's going to be a bit different, a bit interesting. But the fact of the matter is, I think in terms of wrestling games, this looks good. This plays all right at the moment. It plays very well. I am happy. That is all I'll say.
You know what?
Very happy.
In a weird way, that's probably the best thing you can say, that you're happy with your purchase.
Yeah.
And that's, regardless ultimately of what reviews may or may not say, if in general people are happy to have bought the game, that is probably what is key. And based on some rumors that seem to be doing the rounds, that WWE may be doing conversations with EA Sports about how if this game is a flop, they may go over to them because the contract's due. That may be a really important factor if the general buying public are happy with the game. I think
I would not be surprised, even if the game has sold well, if WWE move over to EA. To be honest, it wouldn't surprise me, because it's like the games have been all right, but obviously when it came to 2K20 and all the shit hit the fan, clearly people had the quality was clearly an earmark. Again, Battlegrounds, when it came out last year, Battlegrounds was arcadey, but the problem is it was all about grinding or pay to win mechanics, and that's something gamers are not. I think a lot of people are very contentious on loot box in that sort of way. There are some places where it's a model that is a necessary evil, or it feels kind of it's part and parcel of it. Look at Fortnite, look at Call of Duty Warzone, that sort of stuff.
Genshin Impact, stuff like that.
Yeah, but when it comes to, because obviously there was the big kickoff about it with Battlefront, Star Wars for EA, and obviously then EA have had to be very careful of how they implement that as well.
When you get Disney coming around saying,
yeah,
what the hell have you done to make people so angry at a Star Wars property that's not the Phantom Menace? That's when you know you made a mistake.
Or Rise of Skywalker. But anyway, I mean, some yeah. I did not like the Rise of Skywalker. I'm sorry. it's a.
I was totally fine with it. I will leave it at that.
But I think EA have it with Ultimate Team, but then Ultimate Team kind of makes sense and kind of works in a way. It is a mode for people to do it if they would like to play it.
It should be a choice, not a demand / requirement.
Yeah, I mean, in regards to FIFA, if I have a FIFA game, I'm playing season mode, I'm playing manager mode. I'm not playing Ultimate Team. It's just I just can't. You either get in day one and you really commit to it, or it just doesn't work. There is a kind of Ultimate Team mode in 2K22 called My Faction, and knowing it is like a card building game and all that sort of stuff, I probably will not be touching that mode because it's something I wouldn't lose myself in. I've been playing GM mode. GM mode today has been interesting, kind of get to grips with it. I've just about beaten Adam Pearce in the ratings with 2 weeks to go, which I'm happy about.
How long is a season of GM mode then? Is it
you can do 15 weeks, 25 weeks, or 52 weeks.
Oh, that's cool.
And you can play against an AI, or you could play it alternatively with a human player. So basically, you set up some matches, they set up some matches, and then you simulate and see who comes out on top in terms of who has the best. Because the way you have to kind of book around GM mode is you've got to open strong, your middle needs to calm people down, and then your main event has to really get the people like crazy in a way. So it's like, oh, I'm going to put on a great 5-star match in the middle of the card. No, don't do that. That doesn't work. You think you've got it all. You think you've got it all sussed out, but it doesn't work out that way. And you get these weird little like communications with other wrestlers. It's like I drafted Walter to my NXT and put him as the champion, and like halfway through the playthrough, he sends you a message saying like, how much do you value my services to your brand? I think I've brought you value as your champion. And the options are you can agree with him and give him a bonus. You can agree with him, but don't give him a bonus and say, I think you're wrong. And it's like, I don't want Walter to leave. I'm going to agree with him and give him a bonus. And then later on he sends a message like, I was right to put my trust in you.
You earned his loyalty. So I
earned his loyalty for now.
Yeah. And I will say, Ron, we are thinking on like an upcoming episode of BunkaMania, be it next week or in the coming weeks, so maybe trying to do some 2K22 related stuff on here.
Yeah.
But we're gonna sort of talk off air and try and figure it out. But don't be surprised if in the coming weeks you see the Mr. Dekker Dane, San, and I do some battling in the likes of a GM mode, because that might be the easiest way to implement this.
I think GM mode will probably be the easiest way to do it, because it's like I have. Do you have a PlayStation?
Yeah, I do. I just don't have the game.
Fair enough.
And it's an expensive game.
I don't think you can do online GM, which is, I might need to double check this, but I don't think you can do online GM at the moment.
We'll talk off there. We'll figure it out. But
we'll figure it out. But it'll be fun to do like a GM mode season or something like that. So
exactly, we'll work that. But on that note, everybody, thank you very much for joining us on this edition of BunkaMania here on Bunkazilla UK. If you've enjoyed the stream tonight and you're watching us live on Twitch, make sure you give us a follow if you would like to, and also make sure you leave a comment or two in the chat before we go, letting us know if you enjoyed the show. You can also find Bunkazilla UK on Twitter and Facebook. You can find us on Twitter at Bunkazilla UK and search on Facebook for Bunkazilla, and I'm sure you will find the group there just fine. Obviously, as I mentioned, if you've been listening on the likes of Apple Podcasts, Spotify, the like in the audio-only version, if you would like to, why not leave us a little review or tell a friend about the podcast? And be sure to keep an eye out for the YouTube channel in the coming weeks for Bunkazilla UK, as no doubt you will find the odd bit of clips or entire shows of previous BunkaMania episodes, on there as well. Good Mr. Ian Dekker Dane San, any other things you would like to make mention of before we close up here tonight? Would you like people to reach out via email if they feel so inclined?
If they would love to reach us by email, if they want to tell us their thoughts on AEW Revolution, WWE 2K22, what they think of the WrestleMania card, or anything wrestling related, or want to ask us a question, then please send us communications over to BunkaMania at bunkazilla.co.uk. We'd love to hear from you guys.
There we go. That wraps up this show, everybody. Thank you very much for listening and or watching. From myself, Jeremy Graves, from him, the Dekker Dane, Mr. Iain Boulton, we have been BunkaMania. We will talk to you again next week. That being, if I've got my calendar correct, the 16th of March, we'll be back here live on Twitch. Until then, everybody, speak to you soon.